Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tea Time with Duchess. I'm quite excited. I'm so happy. This is something brand new. We are also learning a lot about upgrading, making the studio, green rooms, music. So, getting there slowly. I'm really happy. But first of all, I want to say it's my honor, my pleasure to meet the first guest here on the Tea Time with Duchess. And I must say, on behalf of my sister Luna, my mom Zaza, my son Zachary, Maggie, let's not forget Maggie and Kiki and our Finches. And welcome one and only Big Duke from Montana, big researchers, the archaeologists, the one who goes deep into the exploring the wilderness. Welcome aboard. It's my pleasure to have you here, sir.
Well, it's awesome to be back again. Anybody from my crowd knows that Danielle's been on my show a couple times and done really great job. She has all the
Thank you.
background from all the southern Europe in her ancestry and everything, and it's originally from that before her and her people conquered part of Canada and annexed it a few years ago, which is now the Duchess of that small part of Canada. So bow down, peasants.
Thank you so much. Oh, that's so sweet, dude. How's the weather in Montana? How you guys are doing over there?
It's not too bad. We're at least we're in the 40s, but it's been like raining, overcast, drizzly, really windy, fairly miserable. So it's not like one of those days where you want to go outside and go for a walk or anything.
Yeah, today's a little bit chilling. Here we had our first snow, so it's kind of, getting there. But Christmas is coming, and as much as I like the warm weather, I must say Christmas without snow is not that beautiful. It has that magic, with the snow and everything. So it's quite beautiful. So I'm looking forward to put our Christmas tree and decorate and, enjoy all that Christmas magic. I would like now to ask you, Duke. I know you've been lately going on a field, you participate in some conferences. Tell us lately what you have been up to and how's the Bigfoot doing in Montana? Is going
Well,
to explore more of the seeking and hiding woods.
it's it's the winter time of the year where it's impossible for me to get to most of my research areas, so I don't do any more field research until spring again. Because most of the areas I go to are in the high mountains and the passes are closed during the winter. So unless you got a snowmobile, you're not going there. So yeah, this time of the year, I try and catch up on all the stuff that I did over the
Yes.
summer and go back and look through all the video and find if there are more suspect Sasquatch in the backgrounds and things like that. And there's a couple of videos that I shot that for sure they're in there. I just haven't bothered to go through it and point them out yet. So you guys can look forward to that coming up here. So I've been really busy with doing shows. And I'd like to say, before we get going any further here, just a big shout out to all of my viewers and followers and listeners. Thanks for coming over. Thanks for checking out the show. Got a bunch of good stuff coming up here shortly. And also to the Sukaloo and the Dogmen that are currently watching and listening to the show down in the Deep South right now. Hello.
Oh.
Oseo, guys. Love you. So
And it's
anyway,
so nice. Yes. Go ahead, Duke. Yes.
I was just going to say tonight I've got Gary Wayne, Bible scholar, an
Oh,
expert on conspiracy theories, who just turned out his second 800-page book on the
fantastic.
subject. Yeah, pretty good job. He's like very good at researching everything, putting all the dots together, connecting all the dots on the conspiracies. Of course, both of his books are Genesis 6 Conspiracy, Part 1 and 2. And it's all
Fantastic.
not only world conspiracies through the lens of history, but also through the Bible. So it starts out at,
Mhm.
Genesis 6. And then it goes on from there and connects all the dots up to present. Me and Danielle did a show on that, or we did part 1 on the Knights Templars, and then me and Stephen Hill, who was in the chat room earlier, did part 2. That's over on Rumble, in case you guys missed it, because it's too objectionable for YouTube.
And that's quite fantastic. You know what? I'm sure, my family and all of us here from our studio, Tea Time with Duchess, will continue listening your show basically after, because, we follow the Bible prophecies of Bible really deeply. I want to say also good evening to everybody in the chat: Grand Vizier, Denise, Andrew, Scott, Life. I'm looking here, Gary. Oh, Gary, everybody in the camp. I want to say hello to Brandy, Big Tex, Gary, and where else is there? I'm sending you guys big hugs. Denise, and I'm hoping you behave, guys, out there. They're hunting dog men over there, Duke. So hopefully they behave. And of course, so Steve Hill, Val, everybody, welcome aboard. I'm so happy to see you guys. We do have some also connectors here on the Instagram. I'm going to actually connect my Facebook and my basically Instagram text. Forgive me, Duke, because I have over 700 and more than 1,000 people followers there. So it'll be quite nice for them to see your show too. He said, I always behave. I'm boring that way. Come on, Scott, you can do it. I'm glad, that everybody's joining us tonight. And please don't forget to tune in tomorrow for basically another show. We'll have Infamous Minds, and we'll also have basically Diva's Dimension. But right now, let's go deeper. My dear friend Duke, I have a question that many people are now digging deeper into, and they're saying that Bigfoot is being seen all over again more and more. Even as we are entering, like you're saying, the closer time to maybe apocalypse, end of the age, or whatever you guys want to call it, they're saying that some of the creatures will be seeing more and more, especially like the Bigfoot, Dogman, and etc. Do you think that phenomena is possible? Are they feeling something? Are they going to come to show themselves more to us, or what's happening? What's in the air?
Well, simple question. Should be able to answer that in a couple of sentences. Um, what's going on? Well, there's earth changes going on right now. And some people think it's the end, and other people are pretty sure it isn't the end. And it's actually, there's going to be some positive changes here for a while. But why are we seeing more of them? Well, it could be that there's more of them around. As Kreider has pointed out, we are actually less invasive in nature areas right now than we were 100 years ago. 100 years ago, humans were all over the place. Now we tend to be more clustered in cities. So they have more area available for them to be able to live in and not be constantly harassed and bothered by humans. And then the other thing is, of course,
All those,
they could actually be expanding their population because of that. And the third thing is that, 20, 30 years ago, if somebody saw Bigfoot, they would not talk about it. And now it's become culturally okay because, that Never Finding Bigfoot show was on for years. So it became a water cooler subject. And now if somebody sees a Bigfoot, everybody just automatically think they're crazy. They go, I've heard about that before. So there's more recognition of it. And when you've got that, there's a greater likelihood that somebody that's had an encounter or sighting or something like that will come forward. And if they haven't got any friends or anybody that they can share it with that isn't going to ridicule them, now they can online find places where there's people that have also had encounters that they can share with and not get ridiculed. So I think that's part, if not most, of what's upping the amount of sightings that are going on. I think there have always been sightings going on. People just wouldn't talk about it. And you notice that in the last 5 years, especially, there's a lot of old sightings coming out from 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago that they had them that long ago, but they weren't willing to report to anybody until recently.
And that's quite interesting. Andrew is saying here, Dogman and Bigfoot being seeing more. I saw 3 possibly, and I know 1 for sure. Quite about it. Another thing that I would like to ask you, Duke, lately I know you've been on the field, and I know you've been showing some fantastic evidence. Next time I'm gonna come call you to come back over, and I'm going to download some videos and the pictures that we can share. Can you tell us so far what is the biggest Bigfoot that you have been seeing, in which area?
Largest one I've seen. Wow, that's a good question. I haven't seen anything that's really over 12 feet or anything. The big one that's sitting across the river from us when Keith Crabtree from the movie The Legend of Boggy Creek. He is the legend of Boggy Creek. He wore the costume and did stunt car
Wow.
driving and did the special effects and all kinds of stuff for that movie. And he came up here and went camping with me. I took him up to my main research area, and we got there right about dark. And we couldn't have a campfire because Burning Man was on, so that was kind of spooky. And but we had, the sky was clear. There was a half a moon, so we had some light, and he could see across the river. There was some gigantic black shadow sitting over there. And he said, "Duke, is there usually a big black shadow over there?" And he pointed, and I went and looked at it, and I went, I don't remember. But when the sun comes up in the morning, you can sit in the same spot you're in right now and look across the river and see if there's anything there to make a big black shadow. I know there's a pile of rocks over there. And he's like, "Oh, okay." And I sat back down and talked to him for about another 45 minutes. And 3 or 4 more times he interrupted me and went, "It looks like that shadow moved." And I'm like, "Just keep your eye on it." Well, of course, it wasn't there the next day or the night after or the next night, or no, it just that whatever it was, it done got up and moved away. And it was gigantic. I mean, I looked at it and I'm like, yeah, that's a really big one. This is very near the area where I was doing a pan, and I had a feeling that I was filming across the valley. I climbed up to the top of the hills so I could see
Mhm.
across it. And I was like, wow, this goes up a lot higher than I thought it did. And, this is a great spot to get a nice clear view of the valley from. So I'm zooming across the valley. Ooh, look at how pretty it is. And I get this feeling there's something behind me watching me. I'm not happy I'm there.
Wow.
So just in case I get killed and disappear, they can find my camera. I do the quick spin around, come back again. Yeah, it's really pretty. I think I'm going to go walk upriver to where my
Mhm.
friends are over here. And I just kind of kept the camera, kept walking. Still had this really creepy feeling there was something behind me that wasn't happy with me. Well, when I went back and looked at the video later on, there's this huge head and part of a shoulder and an arm that are behind
Wow.
these trees about 20, 30 feet behind me. And actually, Joyce Gray from Bama Bigfoot pointed it out first and sent me a screenshot and went, "Hey, Duke, this is right behind you." She loves giving me PTSD, so she was having fun with that. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I'm looking at it. I still couldn't figure out what it was exactly. And after a couple other people pointed it out to me, what I was getting wrong is because of the scale of the object itself. You could see part of
Oh,
one of his eyes, and you could see his nose, and then you could see like the outline of his head, and you could see his shoulder and see his arm. But he was so big, his nose was the size of my head. He was about
wow.
12 feet tall. His head was like the size of a
Wow.
beach ball. So that's why when he was giving me the angry glare on my back, even me, I picked it up, with my zero psychic abilities whatsoever. And then I went up, even I could pick that one up. And I went up the river, and there was this huge pile of fallen trees and stuff. And since I had the feeling there somebody was following me, I went, "These trees will hold my weight, but they won't hold the weight of anybody following me." If you catch my drift.
Yeah.
So I'm going to walk across all of these fallen trees. So they aren't going to be able to follow behind me silently. They're going to have to go around it. And that gave me enough time to get down in the bowl below the hill and then start coming up the other side. And that's where my two friends were, Mike and Aaron. They were already over there filming this giant structure. And then I got over there immediately. As I'm walking up to them, I find a 17-inch track. And I'm like,
Wow.
okay, yeah, no sign they're around here or anything, right? So I get up to where they're at, and did you see anything yet? No, he's like, no, we're just kind of touring around the structure, filming everything. So I start filming it and stuff. And after I didn't notice it at the time, Robin Haynes found it afterwards. She was looking at it. She's going, "That one pan you got with that one big pine tree, there's one of them right here. There's another one right here. And there's two of them up here, further up on the hillside."
Mhm,
And
mhm.
the big one up at the top, I'm looking at him going, "That looks like the same one that was just behind me about 5 minutes ago," giving me the angry glare. So then
Oh,
after that,
my lord. Oh my God.
we,
That's
we had
what's
a little bit more communication with them after that, and they were informed us that we were not to be on that side of the river, so we don't go over there anymore. So apparently that was the
wow.
whole reaction with the angry glare and a mob of them coming down the hill and sitting there, get off our
Wow,
side of the river.
that's a crazy experience. I think it's an experience for a lifetime. I know, Duke, you go deep into all these wilderness, into the forest. This is where you are the expert. Is there something that maybe us, the people that don't have those expertise and knowledge like you do have, that we can pay attention if we are looking for a Bigfoot? So everybody now in the chat, grab a pen and paper because Duke is gonna give us tips what we should look if we are looking for a Bigfoot.
Well, passive search is easy. Whenever you're
Hmm.
driving through an area that you suspect there might be Bigfoot in, keep an eye out on the woods, whichever side you're driving on. Look to see if you can see any structures. Anything that looks like a structure could potentially be a structure. If you have a place to pull over, stop, get out, go check it out. Is it a structure or is it just random deadfall? If you start finding things that look like they probably are structures, in other words, placed there, didn't grow there, didn't fall over there, hey, that tree's upside down, that's not normal, that kind of stuff, probably signs there's Bigfoot in the area. Well, then you can spread out a little bit more. You can walk around in the area and see if you can find any tracks. See if you can find any more structures. Look for branches snapped off. They have a snapping habit. Like some people have a smoking habit, they have a snapping habit. They like to snap branches off wherever they're going through. It marks where they've been. It marks their trail in case they want to follow it again. If it's going to be a regular trail that they'll probably use more than once, they'll put like some dead tree branch or a small dead
Oh,
tree or something. They'll lean it on the trunk of another tree. That's a leaner. Leaners usually mark that this is an area that they're traveling through more than
wow.
just once. And in case they want somebody else to figure out where they went, that's maybe trailing along behind them somewhere. Well, here you go. You've got a leaner against a tree. It says I'm going that way. Go follow that. And some of the stuff they do is twist snaps and whatnot. Those are, markers too, territorial or trail markers. So there's a lot of stuff that, if you want to do the research and find out about what we figured out about all this stuff, there's a lot of stuff that you can do with that has nothing to do with ever seeing them or hearing them or having any evidence that they're there other than just secondary, tertiary evidence in the environment itself that indicates it.
Wow, that's quite amazing. Before we share Andrew's stories and maybe then you can relate to some things that are sharing, Scott's life is saying, Duke, tell her about the thing you saw when you were a kid sledding. So let's hear that amazing story because I don't know nothing about it. And thank you,
Uh,
Scott.
yeah, that was my first encounter. 1972. I was out sledding with my friend Dave, and we were kind of getting disgruntled with this local hill that we were sledding on because it was all completely denuded. All the trees had been cut down. It was actually part of a big pasture for this gigantic area of cows would graze in. Of course, not there during the winter. So snowmobilers and skiers and stuff would go use this area because it was right on the edge of this property. They could get into it, and it was a really big steep hill that you could go up there and sled
Yes.
down it, you could ski down it and stuff. The problem is everybody knew about it and used it. So I was trying to find some place closer to where I was that not everybody knew about and used, that had a suitably huge sledding hill. So me and my friend Dave decided to go scout out in the woods behind my house. And at one point there had been a power line cut made there, but it only went back about a mile and a half and maybe 2 miles, and then it dead ended. And the reason being because just beyond it there was a huge bog.
Hmm.
So you're not going to get any equipment in there with a huge bog there. You're not going to make a bridge across the bog just so you can use it. Maybe if there's a fire at some point.
Yes.
So that's where it ended. So when we got out there, we were in the winter and we were like alternately trudging up through snowbanks up a hill and sliding on our sleds down the far side of it to get way out there. And then we saw that and went, you can't cross that in the summer, but it's been like 40 below.
Wow.
So that's frozen solid, whatever it
Hmm.
is. We can at least slide across on our sleds on our bellies and just push with our arms and legs and get across it. which is exactly what we did. You couldn't walk on it. You'd start, it was like a berry bog, and you'd start
Yeah.
going through the surface of it, and it was like up to our waist, even though we weren't going into the water or anything. That was all frozen solid, but it was still like you couldn't walk through it. So we sledded across it, and both of us kind of on the same trail. We packed it down pretty well too. That kind of worked out nice later. Got to the far side of it, and sure enough, there was a huge hill there, which we could see from the other side of the bog, but we didn't realize how big it was. And we started going up. We got to what we thought was the top of the hill, and no, that was just another hill came up from there. So we went up that one, and lo and behold, a third hill came up from there. So that
Wow.
was pretty cool. So then we're like, wow, okay, we've got a really gigantic hill here that nobody knows about. And we can figure out, there's trees all over the place in the way. Of course, it's wild,
Mhm.
So we've got to figure out how to make a sledding run down this thing where the excessive speed that you're going to pick up won't inevitably fire you into a tree head first and kill you. So what we had to do was actually make a luge run. And it was kind of the perfect day for it because it was just warm enough that the snow on the hillside where the sun was coming down on it was on the edge of being like a little bit melty. So we went all the way up to the top and we figured out where we could go down it. You went kind of at an angle down the first hill, and then it turned and you went almost straight down on the second hill, and then it turned again and you went kind of at an angle and then turned again and went straight down to the bottom of the third hill.
Wow.
So yeah, like I said, this is like big hill, lots of trees, and angle like this. So you are going to go very, very fast. And it
Yes.
wasn't fun trying to walk up it in the first place. So we did all of that prep work, and we did like a couple slow runs down it on our butts, putting our feet out and our
Mhm.
hands and stuff to slow ourselves down and pack down this runway and make sure it was all nice and perfect and hard. And then we just kind of gave up for the day and went back home again. Well, it was like the next weekend, it had once again got super cold and warmed up again. And my buddy Dave came over and I went, hey, let's go try out that sledding run. I bet it's hard as concrete right now. This thing will
Wow.
work. And he's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So once again, we sledded and trudged way back to this hill in the middle of nowhere and made our way across the berry bog without breaking through it. It was a lot harder the second time, or easier, I should say, because the surface that we had made was harder. It had frozen for a week since we went across it twice. So it was almost like a snowmobile trail. You almost could stand up on it, but we still weren't taking chances. We were like, lay down, push ourselves across. It's really easy now. We're not plowing snow or anything. Get to the far side. All the steps that we had going up the hill were now like steps. They had frozen
Wow.
into the hill, So it was like really easy going up, actually. And we decided that since we were going to give it the full speed run now, what we had to do is make sure that there's only two of us out here. We can't both be doing stupid things at the same time. Only one of us gets to be stupid at a time. So I went, okay, Dave, you get down here about halfway down the hill, like about halfway down the second hill,
Yes.
and just monitor. I'm going to go do the first run, kind of a slower speed one.
Mhm.
And in case I crash or anything, you can scrape my corpse off the hillside, throw me on the sled, and drag me back home again. He's like,
Oh
okay,
no.
got it. Because, like, yeah, it was that scary. We were that scared. Uh, so I went down it kind of slow, dragging my legs and stuff the first time. And that was like really worked out great. Stayed right inside the trench we were supposed to be. The whole super concept of making our own luge run seems to have worked. Especially where the two turns were. That was the main thing we were worried about. We had packed snow on those, so it was great. So we're like, man, we can make luge runs and everything. We're awesome. Okay, Dave, you do the mid-speed run down, and I'll go halfway up the second hill and sit there and wait
Halfway.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he went, trudged all the way up to the top, and got on his sled, zoomed, didn't do very much leg dragging or anything. He was going pretty fast. And he made it around both the curves pretty easy, it looked like, from what I could see. And I was like, yeah, I think I can probably make this thing at full speed. So he came walking up from the bottom again to halfway up the hill. And I went, okay, I'm going to go up on top and try and do the first death-defying full speed run down this thing and see if I survive it. Fingers crossed. And he goes, it wasn't too bad. You should be able to make it. And I'm like, yep. So I got up to the top and I got my little red sled, plastic sled, and I put it down. And I'm just about getting ready to jump onto the sled. And I realize that something behind me looks different than the time before when I was up here.
Uh-huh.
And I'm looking at the top of the hill, and it's almost all hardwood, so it's all open. All the leaves are gone. This is in like February, so there's no leaves on the trees, but there's a big black spruce. That's like the only
Wow.
object that's not right out in the open. and something about it looks different, and I can't figure out what it is. And I start to turn around to jump on the sled, and then something in my mind just goes, "Hey, idiot! Turn around, look again. You missed it. That's not right. Something back there's not right." So I turned around and I looked again, and what was attracting my attention is that this was a big black spruce. Its trunk was like yay bigger.
Wow.
And right next to it, it had two more trunks that weren't there the last time I was up there. And one tree should only have one trunk.
Not
And the other two trunks had long gray white hair that had little snow dingle balls stuck all over in it.
wow.
At which point I realized those aren't tree trunks, that's hair. There's something standing there, and its legs are as big as that tree trunk.
Wow.
So then I looked up because my first thought was some of the damn local kids found out where our sledding run is. And they're back here. They're already going to take it over before we even get to use it the first time. It doesn't matter where we try and hide a sledding run. The damn local kids are going to show up and steal it from us. Damn it. And this isn't even on our property,
That's
so
the
I can
kids,
throw them
right?
off. Yeah, this is state land, so I can't throw them off if they find out about it. Damn it. So I figured at that time, this being in the earlier 70s, snowmobile clothing and stuff was just coming out on the market and being invented. One of the things that was popular was these snow pants that were not only insulated, but they had fur on the outside of them. It looked like, animal fur or whatever. And I'd seen a few of them. I
Heavy to
figured
walk in.
one of these kids had that's why the legs were so baggy, because they had these damn snowmobile pants on with the hair on
Yes.
the outside, and they had been dragging their legs through the snow, so it had little dingle balls stuck all over it, and that's what it was. So I'd looked up in the tree to about like 5 or 6 feet up, where you would expect a human's face to be, but I couldn't see anything there.
Wow.
Whoever it was standing behind the tree, and then I saw movement further up, and I looked up, and about 3 feet above that, so about 9 feet up, there was
Wow.
this really gruesome face looking through the tree at me, and it had one branch down like this, and it was holding the other one up like this
Oh,
and staring
Christ.
at me. And then it grinned, and it had a ear-to-ear sized mouth with what looked like shark teeth to me. And I also took note of the fact that the end of its hands didn't have fingernails; they had what looked like talons. So,
Oh.
having no idea what this is, but immediately assuming it's carnivorous, I decided to break the world speed luge record. And on my first attempt down the hill, and I just immediately dove on the sled and I was gone. So that's how much time I got to see it.
I don't blame you.
Not for very long. And luckily, I was in the perfect place to be at the top of an incredibly steep hill with a luge run already built. And I was about to try and see how fast I could go down this thing. And apparently, I was going way, way faster than Dave expected, because by the time I got down to where he was, he had this look on his face like, what the hell? Like, I told him I was going to do a full speed run down the hill, but I was apparently going so fast and not dragging my arms or legs. I was going like this, trying to go faster, even though I was already going way too fast. And as I go past him, he stands up and he's looking at me like this, and I go like hell, and I just keep going. So he
Yeah.
jumps on his sled and he's down the hill behind me. I was going so fast now this bog that I told you about that we paddled across on our bellies
Yes.
was like about the length of a football field. And I was going so fast by the time I got down there, momentum carried me all the way across it. And then I got up and I didn't wait for Dave. I ran up the hill on the far side with my sled, because I'm wisely thinking every time I'm going downhill, I can go really fast as long as I got this sled with me. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. And so, like I said, about 2 miles back to where the house was, and I just got to the edge of our property where you could see the house and the fire lane.
Yeah.
And I sat there and waited for Dave to show up, because I was obviously concerned that something might happen to him. And then after about 20, 30 minutes, he finally showed up. But during the time between where I was sitting there waiting for him and when he showed up, I completely forgot what happened. He never said anything about it. And I was just kind of sitting there going, why did we leave so soon? Why am I waiting for Dave? What's going on? He came back. We went in the house. He never said anything about it. Like, why'd you make one run down the hill and then just go away and leave me out there? And he didn't question me about it. So it just didn't occur to me. I had like hysterical amnesia. And then about 2 years later, he was visiting out at my house, and it was again during the winter. And he goes, "Hey, remember that one sledding hill we made? Why didn't we ever go back there?" And I'm like, "What sledding hill?" And he goes, the one way on the back of the end of the fire lane here across that bog. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. You remember we made that big luge run down there? And then we only used it one time. And then you said run like hell and just kept going. Then I remembered it.
Yeah.
And I was very unhappy that he had made me remember that. Because then for about 3 years, I didn't want to go in the woods at all because I could remember what I ran away from. And
You
I
were
was very
you were really
afraid I
scared.
was
It
going
was
to run in.
trauma.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is only like a couple miles from my house, right?
Oh
So I
yeah.
really didn't want to go into the woods at that point. But it did get me interested in what the hell was this weird thing that I saw. And this was 1972, so there wasn't much of anything about Bigfoot out there, especially in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So, of course, I ran into the Patterson Gimlin film and, Patty and everything. And I'm looking at Patty and I'm going, wow, that's totally not what I saw. Now I have two kinds of monsters in the woods to worry about. This is not helping.
So did that kind of childhood, like you're saying, the childhood experience make you to go into this exploring wilderness, being a big researcher, speaking to the people, teaching us about the unknown and this great phenomena? Did that make you to be this great Duke that we all know today?
No, I don't know about how great I am, but my initial reaction was to
Oh,
go as
you are great.
far away from it as possible and have nothing to do with it, which is why I didn't go in the woods for about another 3 years. And then when I did start going into the woods, like, bunny hunting or something, I
Yeah.
would be armed like frickin' Rambo. I had like guns and pistols and, rifles and shotguns, grenades, everything draped off me before I'd even go like 2 feet in the woods. And that was if I had people with me. I wouldn't go in by myself at all. That was like about 5 years later, which is when I had incident number 2. And Bigfoot showed up right on the yard of the house. At
Oh,
which
Lord.
point I went, well, staying out of the woods is not helping the situation. So apparently the only way I can figure out what to do with this is to, figure out what these things are, what they're up to, how dangerous they are, all that kind of stuff, which in Minnesota is like good luck. There's no internet. Nobody there thinks they exist. Or if they do, they're just the local natives and they're like, huh, white man doesn't know when to go exist. They get eaten. Yeah.
That's pretty funny, but I love that you're being honest. Most of the people don't want to admit, when they see a strange creature, that they were not shocked, that they are not scared, especially like being at that young age. I was a grown woman when I did see this creature in Jasper, and me being a chatterbox, I enter our RV and I'm like standing. I'm like, what did I just saw? And I
Yeah.
wish Maggie could speak. At that moment, I was just speechless. I didn't know what I saw at all. And each time now I go and I still keep looking up there. But like you're saying, for some people, it takes the guts to admit. Like we have one comment here. Andrew is saying, my dogman encounter was in Missouri, south of St. Louis area, almost 47 days after the Nebraska Bigfoot conference from April 2024. So, did you ever encounter the dogman, Duke?
Hey, I was at that conference he's referencing.
Yes, I
I
know.
saw, I saw him 47 days before that happened. Have I ever seen a dog man? No and yes. I have not seen a dog man. I have, however, captured them on camera apparently 3 times. And
Mm-hmm.
every single one of them was by itself. The other 2 times they were in with a group of Sasquatch that were following us and watching us. And one of them was extra creepy because I was surrounded by them. I'd walked this
Oh,
game trail following this moose trackway, and his prints were big. They were bigger than my feet are.
wow.
And so yeah, and the pit he was walking in, it looked like a cow path. You ever seen the cow path, the way they beat the ground down and
Yes.
actually indent it? But there was never any cows out there. This is just elk and moose that are doing this, which is even more impressive. How long have they been walking on this trail to make this pit in the ground like this that's here, right? So I'm following his tracks and go past this one pine tree, and I'm filming his tracks and filming the tracks. I'm not paying any damn attention. I'm being stupid. I'm filming tracks. Not watching what's around me, filming tracks. Mike's behind me. Yeah, Mike's way behind me. I thought he was like near behind me. No, no, no. He's way back there, and he's not coming in my direction yet. So I'm out by myself. La 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 la. I'm filming moose tracks. I'm an idiot. Da, 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 da. Hey, look at this moose track. This is a really big one. Hey, let me show you how big it is. And I go to put my foot down next to it. My foot's on the wrong side of it, so the shadow from my foot and leg is covering the track. So I
Yeah.
went, okay, wait, I'll put my foot on the other side. So I do a 180. I've still got the camera on. I put my foot down next to it. Now, about 2 years later, I went through and I looked at that because something caught my attention. I slowed it down and looked at it again. And where I'm spinning the camera around, I'm catching the bottom of a pine tree up to about
Mhm.
5 feet. There's a Bigfoot shaped shadow sitting underneath it. And just beyond the pine tree on the side of it, there's this yellow eye about that big with a
Wow.
black pupil in it staring at me. And I never noticed that when I was there. But about not 2, 3 minutes later, I get to the end of this little moose trail, and there's like a clearing, and it's got a stand of pines all the way around it, except on one end you can see the animal track goes through there and then goes out into a
Mhm.
huge open slough. So I'm like, wow, this is a natural bottleneck. It'd be great for ambushing things. And oh my God, I'm stupid. Why am I standing right here? Where's Mike? Mike's still way back there. I'm like, I think I'm going to do a quick pan right now, just in case. I do these a lot in case I think I'm about to die. I want to get on camera, whatever it is that killed me. And I'm going around the circle, and I actually noticed there was a couple of anomalous looking things looking at me. But I didn't realize it at the time that I was doing the pan. I had zoomed the camera part way in. So I
Wow.
was getting this further than your depth of human vision usually looks view of what's in the woods as I'm panning around with it. And then after it, I showed it to Robin and a couple other people, and oh my God, did they pick out a lot of Bigfoot in there? There's like about 10 or 12 of them around me, including like things you wouldn't even expect, like a female sitting on the ground with two babies playing with them, and another
Wow.
one looking over her shoulder at me, giving me the glare. There was two juveniles that were standing in this stand of trees, and right in between them, there's this dog man head coming around the tree looking at me. And like that was out in the sun and obvious. It was almost more obvious than any of the Bigfoot. And he's just like looking at this trunk. The tree had a bend in the trunk, and he's got his head in that little bend looking at me.
Wow.
So yeah, that was extremely creepy. So yeah, apparently they do. The dog men do hang around with the Bigfoot as long as they're on good terms and stuff. If they don't get along, then they're not hanging around with them. So, my personal theory is that if you run into a group of Sasquatch that have a dog man with them, well, he's sort of operating under their rule set, whatever the rules are that
Ah,
they're going with. Because if he's not following their rules, then he's not going to be there with them. They'll boot him out.
oh, good.
And
Because
this is
I saw the other day on the I was doing some research in the studies, and I love that you're here with us this evening. We really are all very happy. So maybe you can explain that to us. They're saying that Bigfoot is actually having like a husky or these big wolves with them, just like as we have dogs. Do you think is that possible?
absolutely. I've seen a ton of examples of that where they find large animal tracks intermixed with Bigfoot tracks, and it doesn't look like that either one of them is hunting the other. First, wolves and mountain lions are not going to hunt the Bigfoot. They're not suicidal. And it didn't look from the tracks. In some cases, the Bigfoot tracks were overlaid on the other animal track. They weren't in any hurry to catch up with them. Or in a couple cases, it looked like they were basically side by side. So that would make sense because we know that they already, apparently, some of them are using animals like ravens and raccoons and otters to do their dirty work for them and being their early warning systems. So when you come into an area, those animals will make a racket, let them know you're around, and then they get a munchie later. Where here's your treat for for sounding the alarm. Good job. Ravens and crows do this a lot.
Wow.
Um, we have good reason to believe they do this with river otters too, because at one point I got a pan along the edge of this bank next to this river where there were several Bigfoots sitting down there watching me. There was a dog man about 12 feet away from me sticking his head through this pine tree looking at me. It's a good thing I didn't see that at the time. I probably would have had a heart attack and died. But down below the embankment, down back where there was like a big, obvious Bigfoot shadow, there was these two little short things. And for a long time, we were sitting there looking at these things going, what the hell are these? They don't look like anything I can think of. They don't seem like any kind of cryptid we can name. And finally, somebody looked at him and went, "Those are river otters." And it was like immediately, well, yeah, thank you. Well, apparently they've got the river otters for pets here too. So yeah, you hear about them having like wolves and mountain lions and things like that for pets. Bears, I don't know about that. They definitely have conflicts with them and eat them. So
So do you
anything's
think
possible.
yeah, I love, and I was thinking about that because they are really close to human behavior. Even they're socializing, the way they're raising their youngs, like mothers being protective over the little ones, and etc. And I know you did a lots of research about that too. So I want to ask you something. Many people are questioning that, and they're asking, are these beings outer dimensional? Are they coming from different dimensions? Are they part of this world since planet existed? Are there something that are like Homo sapien? What do you think what these beings are?
They're relic hominids. They're part us, according to
Part of us?
Sasquatch SasquatchGenome.net. Dr. Melba Ketchum's genome study on the Sasquatch concludes that the female side, the mitochondrial DNA, is human, going back to about 12 to 15,000 years ago.
Wow.
Source North American Indian or Levant. And the nuclear side of the DNA is unknown because it doesn't match with anything in the couple billion versions, different DNA things that they've got at this point. It doesn't match anything, so they don't know exactly what it is. And of course, Dr. Ketchum's doing more ongoing research on that.
So Dr.
As far as
Ketchum is saying that basically they are by the mother side, these beings, the Bigfoot are part of the humans, and then the father by the nucleus side is unknown, or it doesn't match with any
yep,
species on the planet. Wow,
that's it
that's quite
exactly. All the samples she got, which was over 100 of them, all kind of tested out the same. So the samples of whatever she was getting, which we're presuming is Sasquatch,
yeah,
yeah, they're hybrid. They're half human and half unknown. Which
hybrids.
doesn't mean that they couldn't hybridize further if they've already got that. They could be hybridizing with other cryptids and things too. And that would explain where some of the other weird things are coming from. But from their standpoint, they say that humans were made by God, or Tahoe
Mhm.
as they call
Yeah,
them, and they also say they were made by God, or Tahoe as they call them.
yeah.
So you're already having a little difference of opinion with Dr. Ketchum. But maybe God is the one that hybridized them. We don't know. But according to them, that's who made them. So
Quite, quite amazing. What do you think? Is it possible, maybe in the near future, as we're entering, and I'm gonna love and listen to your show after the mine show, especially the gentleman who can speak so much about the Bible and the prophecies. Uh, are you thinking that in the future we're gonna see more of them or interacting with humans? Is it possible that this is gonna maybe happen?
well, there's a lot. There's been interaction going on since forever. It's
Mm-hmm.
just very limited, and I think they're sort of under orders to maintain a low profile, don't interfere, stay away from humans.
Wow.
And whether that's a cultural thing or whether they're getting those orders directly from the boss, which would be Tahoe, I'm not sure. But
Yeah.
they're very good about doing that, and so that's why you rarely see them. A lot of times they'll make their presence known just to, you're annoying, go away, and they'll throw branches or rocks at you, or shake a tree, or roar, so stupid humans go away. It's incredibly rare that you actually get them to step out in the open. And if they do that, there's either they want to have something to do with you or they really want you to go away. So you might be a little bit worried at that point. So from what I've been able to gather, their interest in having interaction with humans is almost zero. They really don't want anything to do with us for the most part. They want us to just leave them alone. And there's a few individuals that they decide for whatever reason, and don't forget they're psychic, they can read your mind and everything,
Yeah,
that
it doesn't.
they want to have interaction with those people. And so they probably always had that. Like there was a known thing with some of the native tribes where they would have one guy in the tribe that could basically speak their language that would do trading and interaction with them when it was
Wow.
necessary. And some of these old guys died off and didn't tell anybody, didn't get a new guy in the tribe to learn how to do this or anything, and it just became like dead knowledge. But apparently here in the Pac West, that was like fairly common. I would suspect other parts of the country where the tribes had, any kind of a decent interaction with them, where it wasn't just like, what's that? Shoot an arrow at it. Uh, that they were probably, interacting and trading with them too. I know down in Louisiana and stuff, that was definitely going on. So there's
And
some of
that's
those
quite
areas.
amazing. Yeah.
Uh,
I have a one question, Duke. That's been on the TV also for a while. On my side, I think these beautiful creatures, what I saw, I was really impressed. And I did talk about that to many of you guys. Thank you so much for joining. I see Jonathan praying, Grandi's here. And oh my God, more people. Who do we have here? Overbuilt Automoto. Hello, people. Linda Thomas. People are coming. Steve. Yeah, I've been on the George Norrie show. I'm going to actually go again. I do have a message that I have to. I'm going to preparing a one big show with him right now that I have to send him a message and explain. So,
well,
and that,
next time you see George, tell him to knock it off with the pikers already and get something that actually knows something about Bigfoot on his show.
I agree with that. Regarding the Bigfoot, some people are saying, they go hunting. I personally don't think you should be hunting for a Bigfoot. And there was a hunter here in Canada. He did say that he did encounter the Bigfoot deep into the mountains of the Rockies. And he said, as he was holding the gunshot and he made the connection, he said, "You look like I was facing another human being." And he put basically gun down, and he said, "I cannot do this." Do you think when people look into their eyes that, like you're saying, because they're really telepathically intelligent and they can have the third eye, that they can tell us stop doing this, or, I don't want you to do this, or do we really feel them at that point, when there is a basically gun involved?
Wow, that varies a lot. It depends on the situation. It depends on the individual Sasquatch, and they're not all the same. Some of the
Okay.
some of the little tribes of them are extremely primitive, and they don't have much in the way of any kind of paranormal capabilities. Maybe the only thing that they know how to do is just mind speak. They all can do that. They all
Okay.
can do that. But other than that, it's kind of like being in a martial arts school. You have your jealously guarded secrets of your martial arts school that you do not teach to people from other martial arts schools. That's a no-no. And the variation is kind of like, if you want to think of it in human terms, you've got the Amish that are driving around in horse and buggies. And then you got other humans living on the earth at the same time that are going up into space and working on the space station and coming back again. So there's a big difference in technology there. And the same thing with their paranormal or, psychic abilities. Some of them are just like amazing in the amount of different weird things they can do. And
Wow.
other ones are just like pretty much all they know how to do is mind speak. And, warn Uncle Fred in the next canyon over that humans are heading that way, and that's about it. So, yeah, and then you don't know what kind of a reaction. The reaction that you're going to get from them totally depends on you as a person, and also what your intentions are. If you're hunting for Bigfoot, they know you're hunting for them.
Oh, there we go. See?
Bye.
Okay, so I love that. I love that, and now we learned something today, ladies and gentlemen. So like you're saying, not all of them are the same intelligence level. Not all of them are that basically advanced, like you're saying. Some of them are more, primates, if we can say, and some of them are more advanced, just like you're saying, we have Amish and we have SpaceX, for example. So that's
Yeah.
quite amazing. I didn't know about that. I learned a lot from you today, just like everybody in the chat is also doing. Before I leave you, I have one more question. I know I will have Duke back, ladies and gentlemen here. We'll dig more onto the brain and he'll send some pictures. I want to make a video and get him maybe for him a little bit longer, because 1 hour with Duke is just so little, because I love to pick his brain. When we talk about interaction with them, what we can do, let's say, if we really want to make a connection, what how to approach them, that they know that we are friendly and that we don't want to hurt them, and that we just want to kind of make communication.
Well, they can sense your intentions and stuff, and Robin has mentioned this a bunch of times too. If you're in an area where you think they're around and stuff, just have fun and be low key. And
Mm-hmm.
think of it as like you're in somebody else's living room camping. Don't do anything that would piss off somebody if you were in their living room camping. Don't chop up the furniture. Don't set things on fire. Don't throw trash all over the place. Don't be loud and obnoxious, just like basic common sense things. I noticed one thing that I've seen them actually react to is us picking up garbage. I'm
Oh,
walking around the woods in the mountains, and here's some old rusty can that's probably been sitting there 30 years. And I'll put it out of the ground and unzip my backpack and start throwing it in there because I'm going to haul it out again. And I'll hear a wood knock. Like they're watching me doing this. Hey, look, he picked up the trash. Knock. Thank you.
wow.
Ano-
Oh, that's so sweet. So
Another
they do
time,
care about the environment then. They could care about the
well, they don't
environment.
want they don't want our dirty garbage laying all over the place. If they're going to wreck up anything, that's for them to wreck up, not for us to do it. That's not our job. If they want to push a bunch of trees over and make a general disaster out of an area, that's fine. That's within their prerogative. They own the mountains. That's okay. They don't wreck that much, really, any. Not compared to us, because like we have to burn wood to stay warm. They don't have to do that, so they're not wrecking up very much. Uh, yeah, it's just basic common sense for the most part. And if you go there with the intention of I'm just going to hang out and have fun, and maybe I'll see some signs of Bigfoot, and that would be all great and dandy and everything. But a lot of people that are into this thing, they go out and like, okay, we're going to go look for Bigfoot. This is all serious and everything, guys. Locked and loaded. Get your grenades and everything ready. We might encounter a Sasquatch.
Yes,
Uh,
it's like a Rambo movie time.
Yeah, the Sasquatch is looking at them going, what the hell's wrong with this cornball? I'm going to go leave the area. I'll be back in a week when they're gone. Um, so, if you're not there specifically to harass them or anything, I mean, like even when we're in areas doing Bigfoot research, we only do things during the day. We don't
Yes.
wander around in the woods and annoy them at night. It's too dangerous as grizzlies are anyway. But we'll go during the day, find their tracks, find their structures, document them, film their structures, ooh and ah about how awesome they are, because inevitably they're somewhere
Mhm.
nearby listening to you. So it helps to do that and let them know just how amazing their constructions are. They appreciate it. And then at night, they'll just come in, they'll be like right next to your camp. They'll come in and listen to you talk around the campfire and tell stories. If you're having fun and you're telling interesting stories, or especially if you're telling jokes, that's when you get the most reaction out of them. They're sitting there listening to everything you're saying. I had William Lunsford. It was he's the Falk monster hunter. He was up in my research area A visiting, and most of the team already had to leave. We were there the third night. And it was kind of cold and drizzling, and he had a nifty little collapsible pavilion that he had got. So we set that up, and we were all sitting underneath it in our camp chairs. It was me and Mike and William. And me and Mike are so used to this, we know what the routine is. When they start making noise, don't react to it. Pretend you don't hear it, because then they'll get closer and make the noise. And you want to see how close you can get them to camp, right? That's sort of the plan. So William's sitting in this chair, and he's not used to this. Where he's at, you don't camp at night. No way, too dangerous. Folk monster, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. So he's, last time he'd been camping at 40 years ago. So he's sitting there in his chair, and me and Mike are just kind of talking and ignoring everything that's going on. And finally, he's like, are you guys hearing this?" Well, yeah, we were. There was two areas on our side of the river, which is like there's a campsite and there's the road. Right on the other side of the road, over here and over here, we can hear them making noise. And William is reacting to behind him across the river. There's three places where they're making noise. So we've got at
Oh.
least five of them that have us surrounded. So William's getting concerned because he hasn't done this. He goes, "Are you guys hearing this?" And I went, "Oh yeah, hold on a minute." And I turn around and I go, "Hey guys, how you doing?" And they turn back again. And they go, "That should take care of it." And he just looks at me like, "What the hell is that going to do?" you know. And Mike already knows what's going on, so we just go back into the conversation and stuff. And after about like 3 more minutes, he's kind of like listening and looking around and stuff. And he goes, "Hey, you guys, all the noise stopped." And I went, "Well, yeah, because we let them know we can hear them, so they don't." They're being polite. They're making noise to let us know it's them, so we don't just like pull a gun out and shoot.
Wow.
So as soon as we recognize, it's like, "Hey guys, how you doing?" Oh, they know it's us. They're not going to shoot at us. Now we can sneak up close and listen to what weird jokes they're telling and goofy stories. And
Oh, that's nice.
we
And
had one.
yes, go ahead, Duke.
Here's another example of that. We were there at the whole. This was a different time, but we had about 6 people there, and we were all gathered around the campfire. And like I said, where the campsite is, above it is where the road bed is, and both of them had their trucks parked there. So there's like a wall of trucks in between us and what's on the other side. We can't see it from where we're at. And we're all telling like Bigfoot and Dogman stories and stuff. And I start telling this Dogman story, and I get about like halfway through it, and Ashton goes, "Hey, Hawk, are you hearing that?" And Hawk goes, "Yeah." And I'm on the other side of the fire from him. I can hear fire crackling. I can't. So I'm like, "What are you guys listening to?" And they said, "It sounds like somebody's on the other side of the road throwing rocks at our trucks." And I'm like, "Okay." And I sit there and think about it for a minute. And I go, "Maybe they don't like us telling Dogman stories. I'll switch over to a Bigfoot story." So I start telling this Bigfoot story. Sure enough, that was it. That must have been what it was, because as soon as we started telling Bigfoot stories, like, "No, we don't want to hear Dogman stories. We want to hear Bigfoot stories. Tell us Bigfoot stories." That you guys are Bigfoot. Yeah, we don't care. They might be our relatives. We want to hear those stories.
That's a good one. Duke, having an hour with you, it's also very, very little. I promise you, I must have you back here because, we must have this for a little bit longer. You can send me some pictures, videos that we can share. But
Yeah,
before I let you go, I know you have your show after mine. Tell me where people can find you and how they can contact you.
World Bigfoot Central on YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble, BitChute, World Bigfoot Central group on MeWe, and Montana Bigfoot Project group on Facebook. And if any of you guys missed it, one of the highlights of this year was a video that just came out very recently where I went celebrity Bigfooting with the notorious pirate, Captain Jack Sparrow.
Oh, he was awesome.
And we found 20-inch tracks, and it was really fun having Captain Jack holding the tape measure while I was filming the 20-inch tracks.
That was a good one. I watched that one. That was amazing. And, Captain Jack Sparrow, he's quite a fun guy. He is amazing. We must have him sometimes here. He can join you next time, and we can maybe 3 of us have some fun, joke and laugh. I think it will be quite amazing.
Well, as the show foreshadowed, he had been given a magic compass by me. And I warned him that if he kept the magic compass and didn't bring it back, the magic compass would bring him back.
That's
so
fantastic.
There's a good chance he's going to show up for part 2 next summer. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Again, Duke, thank you so much for coming here on a show, Tea Time with Duchess. You are amazing. God bless you. Keep you safe. I will continue watching your show after this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a beautiful evening with each and every one of you. Join me next week. I'm going to actually, again, at 5 p.m. MT time, I'm going to do amazing prophecies of the Bible. So we're going to talk about everything that is coming in the future. I'll have Bible with me. I'll give you guys some notes, some points that can help you for the future. Again, everybody have a wonderful evening. Please continue watching. Go hump over to World Bigfoot Central. Duke is going to be there with amazing guests. He's going to talk about the prophecies. I'm going to be there and continue watching amazing Duke. Again, Duke, thank you very much. God bless you all and be safe.
Love y'all. Share this show to everybody so they find out about Danielle's show and they start coming here all the time.
Yes, thank you.